everybody. Welcome. There's nothing quite so constant as change, is there? So you'll notice that I've managed to get myself back into my one-on-one studio here to film Zoom classes from and be practicing here. But I wanted to give you this idea that in November, our practice can be very nourishing and nurturing. And for that reason, a little quote from a wonderful yoga master, and she says that if we can yield our bodies and yield our minds and let go more effectively, then essentially yielding has the qualities of surrender and relaxation. But it also means giving weight in order to receive support. And often that weight that we give is to Mother Earth. So that's why we're going to begin our practice today with grounded action, grounded poses. Perhaps also consider that given the circumstances we find ourselves in this week as we approach a new lockdown period in the UK, perhaps let's try and embrace, or at least reflect on, what it means to apply ease to your effort. So, for example, if my hobby happens to be gardening and I'm digging out a flower bed or planting some bulbs, I don't need to get that spade and grip it and attack the earth and punch it and chuck it down. Maybe I can even hold my tools with more mindfulness and allow myself to breathe through the movements and take proper rest, so that if I'm gardening or planting bulbs, I do not have to create this environment where there is no nurturing, there's no space and time for nurturing. So maybe during our period again of being more indoors, we can reflect upon how we nurture, how we nourish. Perhaps as well, we'll have some really nourishing soup and maybe make some really lovely well-being type of foods through the month of November so that we support our immune system. As you sit here now and inhale, exhale through the nose, please relax down into the hips. Let your base drop more deeply if that's possible for you. And observe your hips. Let's give the shoulders a little roll and ease out the shoulders. And a little cat-cow movement into the spine. Slow that down if necessary. So breathing in and breathing out as you find that undulation, those ripples. And when I'm moving through the spine in internal and external feeling sense, you know, you can move that spine and see the movement, and you can move and feel the movement. And now coming into those circular trunk moves. These do not have to be fully perfect and precise. And then maybe this would invite you to reach over side to side, maybe lean back a little bit, maybe lean forward and lean back and sway forward, and then over to the other side, be forward and back, almost like the body is a little seesaw, falling forward and releasing back. And then bring the fingers behind the body and try and flare out the thighs. At this point, if you would like to come off of cushions, you can, of course. I'm going to bring the heels of the feet, sides of the feet, and the heels together, the outer edges of the feet, and just lean back and flare out those thighs, a bit of nuzzling and rocking. So just understanding and appreciating some open space in the hips there, in Supta, in seated butterfly pose. Maybe make a change there and bring the feet a little further forward so it's more like a diamond shape, easing through. And of course you can also draw the heels much closer to your perineum if that suits you, and tip forward. And that can be a very interesting place for the hips to be noticed. To give another little circular action around the base. And if knees are coming up very high and it's feeling uncomfortable, perhaps separate the feet so that you come into more of a relaxed diamond shape. And then stirring around, and you can let the legs rock over to the left and rock over to the right. So this is kind of soft, easy massage, perhaps warming up through the hips and thighs and the pelvis there. And then I'm going to invite you to shake out those legs, please, and come into supine. And if you'd like to bring your block under the back of the skull, you can, of course, you can use your block there. And if you do not need it, then please just lay your body down and notice. And you might want to lay the whole body down so the legs remain long, or of course commonly we would enter a supine semi position. And if you are entering supine semi, just tuck, lift the buttocks and lengthen the hips and pelvis away from the shoulders. And as you lay and gaze up to your ceiling or up to sky, what is the felt sense of the body meeting the earth? So observe that. Laying the arms down, breathing in and breathing out, and really connecting. If you need to place palms on your body, do that now, closing the eyes. How well can you yield your torso? Can you allow that sense of ease as you drop and surrender arms, back of skull, whole head, shoulders, rib baskets and pelvis? So please pay attention to your ability to breathe, to your ability to breathe in and breathe out, to perhaps a savouring of each breath cycle. When we commit to our movement health, to our yoga practice in this way, you've chosen to come here now. So let's really allow that moment to be special. So there's a real treasuring and a real cherishing of that moment as you inhale, exhale, and deeply connect to your body in this nurturing way of self-care. So we're coming into the beautiful pose of Supta Padangusthasana, the single leg three-way leg lengthening release. And for many of us, it can be helpful to press the grounded leg into the skirting board. So if you're choosing to find that action, then you might want to do that now. So you might want to press that foot into the skirting board and then find the more, let's say, the more secure, almost grounded element through that extended left leg. And then your right thigh is going to fold into the chest and lengthen. And it's at this point we might be wrapping the belt around the foot, the ball of the foot, and bringing the tails of the belt to be held. So you'll have this potentiality for two right angles and a very open, broad pelvis. And the other option, of course, is to have your left foot grounded in supine semi and simply allow the right leg to be your extended leg. So in terms of the shape of this pose, it's not that challenging in reality. What the challenge is how can you find this toned elongation in this working leg while keeping a good foundation and a good connection to the whole body. What is happening in your right hand? I'm taking the tails of the belt into the right hand, and it's possible to reach the right arm up, because obviously in classical yoga we would also inquire into big toe mudra, to the peace fingers, the first and second fingers wrapping around the big toe. So that would be for practitioners who perhaps do not need or wish to use the yoga belt. So you might be finding this kind of action through the body. And of course the third option is to have your yoga belt prepared with that little D-ring, and just place the circle around the ball of the foot, flare out the toes, flex the heel, and you can be down at the bottom tail of that belt so that the shoulders are really grounded and bending the elbows, the upper arms are in the earth, and you're just guiding your leg into its maximum optimal position for the posture as you feel it today. So allow yourself to explore many of those opportunities. How you hold the belt, how you connect your palm, both hands or one hand. Do you let the right arm reach up or do you draw down? And also, do you prefer to have your left knee bent with your left foot standing? Doesn't have to be that that heel is jammed into your buttock bone. Actually, on the contrary, you want to have that left leg softening enough so that the groin area does not feel super tight and unwinding. And if you're tiring of this elongation, bend the right knee, soften, and then press back into your power and find that action. Now, I'm at a slight angle in order to provide this demonstration for the filming, but you will make sure that you are in a very good straight line and that your pelvis is level. So if you have got your left leg really powerfully strong and grounded, pressing into the skirt board, then just notice new sensations, or how many sensations do you want to feel. Remember that in any given moment, for example, maybe this morning you boiled the kettle and made a cup of tea or something, your mind, neurologically, in the motor neuron system, is giving 1,000 instructions in that nanosecond for you to move. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's obviously a functional system. But when we are in yoga practice and we are nurturing and yielding, what happens is that sense of calming, you can slow down and really connect very deeply to each action. So a 2 to 3 minute hold of this pose, and not holding rigid, so that sense of embodying the pose for 2 or 3 minutes is really beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is come into the open angle. So maybe my arm reaches a little higher up towards the D-ring or to the lower part of my leg, or holding that belt. Keep secure. So maybe the left hand comes onto this thigh to remind you to stay grounded. And then draw the right thigh out to the right, just enough. So remember, if your opening isn't that vast, you may be holding very strongly through this belt, but just watch again that you don't rip out through the bones. And if your elbow is on the mat as mine is, and you are able to move out much wider, then happy days. And even you could get hold of your block and place your yoga block underneath the outside thigh, or maybe towards the outer ankle. And you could then be even more beautifully supported. Try not to tip and let the right leg carry your hip width. So be mindful of your open angles and how well you can stay grounded in that left thigh. You might even want to let the head Roll to the left and gaze down the left open palm. And if you're using the wall on that left lower grounded leg, then please press more definitively. And if you've got your left knee above the left ankle with a bent left leg, then please make sure that that leg doesn't waft around and it stays very secure. And inhale, exhale as you drop deeply or roll gaze to sky and close eyes with a centered head. Adjusting those scapulae, let the shoulder blades widen, release into earth. Calmly observe yourself here now. And then when you're ready, just folding that right knee back in, guiding it back to center. You might want to bend the knee and just give yourself a little hug there. Inhale, exhale. Let's release that right leg back into its energetic pose. And its ankle is above the sit bone, or perhaps you have a different angle. It's okay to soften the knee as well. So observe your whole body experience. Now bring your belt into your left hand, swapping hands, and draw the leg across the body. Push the heel away and find enough rotation. So there's a few options here. You can try and keep your left foot, if it's on the study board, pointing up to the sky, and just receive a very strong outer hip energy, which some of us really, really need and really enjoy. And once again, if it's appropriate, you can bring that block over and maybe rest your foot ankle onto the block, and then lay the shoulders open and look to the right arm, look to the right shoulder, or just center the head again. And stay here for a moment, observing your response to that. Of course, you can hold, or you can tip further onto the left hip. What I'm doing there is I'm just rotating through the pelvis a little bit more. Therefore, my left foot is just turning on the wall, and then drop the leg and roll arms open and even soften the knee. Okay, so can you please explore what your body wants to feel with that rotation this morning? If I hover the leg and I don't even hold the belt, then that's a very powerful, strong action in my body. And sometimes when we feel connected to that strengthening element of a pose, it is great for the mind because it kind of harnesses the mind's connection and concentration. Remember to breathe well. Perhaps 1 or 2 more rounds of breath here. Another option would be to count your breath cycles. And can you feel that you're elongating your spine? So can the crown to tail just really elongate away as you open out through the body? We'll fold that knee back into center and unhook the belt. And bring both knees in. And really a very light touch to the knees or the shins or the backs of the thighs. Rock very gently left and right, or rock all the way and let your legs drop left, touch, and drop right. Toes touch. And dropping left and dropping right. Yeah, so soft or more range offered there. And then pop your feet on the mat into, again, a supine semi. Let yourself be super relaxed for this moment. Feet are apart, hip wide, and then just drop the thighs open. And if you want to move into the supine butterfly at this point, then do so. And adjust your feet accordingly. Now, for many of us, we find as we move into the supine bound angle pose, Supta Padangusthasana, I should say more carefully, the back arch is quite a lot. And if that's okay for your body, then be okay with it. If not, can you just soften through the pelvis and groins? And I quite like to push the feet together, like two hands clapping, and then press the arms down and tuck and lift. And as the pelvis lifts, I call this butterfly bridge, and then curl the tail, lengthen underneath you, and releasing perhaps some of that tensioning in the lumbar arc, and then flare the thighs again, and maybe bring the heels a little closer or maybe a little further away. Soften back. Happy to maybe even bring the arms overhead. And settle here, closing the eyes. Use this opportunity to breathe fully around the whole body, mind, breath, emotions. Feeling the air on your skin. Perhaps if the eyes are closed, you of course perceive that it's daytime. So there's quite a lot of light coming through. And you can also bring your palms commonly onto chest or belly and let breath be received through the palms there. One more round of breath here, and then bring the hands to the sides of the thighs. Remember, it would have also been a delicious option to place some cushioning on either side of the legs, or some yoga blocks or bricks there. And then gather easily and gracefully those legs in. Tuck the tail, draw the knees into the chest. Inhale, exhale, pose of Uttanasana. And relax on a little rock or massage. Breathing in as you exhale, curl, perhaps hold feet. And finding those curled poses, anything where we mirror that embryology, that embryo pose of our birthright. If we're flexible enough, it can feel very, very safe and secure for the yoga body mind. So let's come back to supine semi, and remember that we might find the best course of action for this pose is to bring the left ball of the foot into the belt, have the tails of the belt, and just explore the angle of the pose here. And in fact, just resting into pose this way will be absolutely fine. Can you please ensure that your alignment is good? And remember not to lift the buttock and curl away. So really be heavy weighted through your sacrum. If you prefer to brace your right leg into the wall or the skirting board, then you'll need to double check that your ankle, knee and hip is alignment, and that your pelvis is lovely and broad, and that you feel competent and confident to retain that energy through both legs equally. So there's that sense of a seam of vitality running up through the inner thigh to the inner arch. You may want to allow your shoulders to settle in the chest, and once again look to sky, elongate, broaden. If you need to lift your head and then reposition, that's also fine. And then as you draw perhaps your hand closer to the foot and you increase the pull tension here, observe that sense of yielding. Can you really let go? And can you relax more? And if there is a tugging between the hips and it's an unwelcome tugging, then definitely bend that right knee and place your right foot flat so that we have more of this sort of freedom in the joint available. A little bit of a circle is also helpful for some, as is bending and lengthening, especially if you've come to mat this morning and in that really mindful way, you've noticed that you're a little bit stiff in the back body. Remember that spine, you know, the hamstrings restart on the forehead in the superior back line. They run all the way through to that inner arch. Well, I'm going to stay strong in the split leg formation of the pose, and now consider coming out to the wider angle. So drawing that left leg out to the left, but keeping your right thigh very grounded and purposeful. Push your way through the heel and support your extended leg. Remember that you may want your brick here or a bolster. Really unlikely that the leg touches the earth, because what's going to happen is we're going to tip over. Try and find that heavy weight through the right thigh. And as you relax the chest and the breath, you might want to close the eyes, internalize the feeling. You don't need the belt. A little bit holding your left toes or even reaching towards your heel. Softening the mouth. Ah, open up wide. Maybe make an ah sound or an ah. Or even a big sigh, sighing away any of that residual tension. Maybe one more round of breath here and then soften back in. Take your time, no need to rush this. And then again, two tails of the belt around the ball of the foot, clasping, pressing down through the left side as you find your rotation through the pelvis and hips. The leg extends away, and you've got this really strong element of the peripheries, of the fingers reaching away from the midline, of the heels and the toes reaching away. And maybe you roll onto your right hip and you just explore more of that or less of that. Just pushing outwards and pressing, extending open. Once again, choose to turn the gaze and look down that left palm and left arm, or to gaze upwards or close your eyes.